Welcome back to Women's Era. അടുത്തത് നമ്മുടെ സൂപ്പർ വുമൻ ആണ് വുമൻസ് ഇറയിൽ 32 വർഷത്തെ അക്കാഡമിക് പരിചയം. She's an expert in her industry and she leads one of the best educational institutions in the country. ആരാണെന്ന് നമുക്ക് സൂപ്പർ വുമൻ സെഗ്മെന്റിൽ പരിചയപ്പെടാം. വെൽക്കം ടു സൂപ്പർ വുമൻ. We have with us Mrs. Lalitha Suresh, who is the principal of our own Indian school, Dubaii. With over 32 years of experience, she's at the helm of one of the best education institutions in the country. Welcome to the show, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me to this show.
Thank you. So, ma'am, how has the journey been now? You've been in the field as an academician for the past 32 years. How did the journey begin? Can you just tell us where it all began?
Okay. At a very young age, I thought I knew I wanted to be a teacher.
Wow, okay.
And my journey started when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
And my mom, I lost my father when I was very, very young. So my mom actually struggled during her youth days to bring us up. So she always wanted me to become a scientist.
Wow.
And it was her dream because she was working in Baba Atomic Research Center. And she wanted me to become a scientist there because she used to work under scientists.
Right.
But I had my passion towards teaching. So I decided to enroll myself for a teacher training program, the B.Ed course.
Okay.
And for a year almost, mother and daughter had fights at home. But I stuck to my passion. And I'm glad that I stuck to my passion. And today when I ask my mom, are you happy with what I'm doing? And she says, of course I am.
More than happy,
I'm more than happy
to
see me succeed and to give the children education.
Absolutely. There's no greater joy, I suppose, as a teacher.
Absolutely. I mean, you go back home so satisfied, having touched the lives of so many children.
So many children. Is that the most fulfilling aspect of being a teacher and a principal, where you've contributed towards the development of so many young minds and influence their lives? Is that what satisfies you?
Absolutely. I mean, when children come into our offices, or when you, even as a teacher, when I was teaching, the satisfaction that you get when you deliver a good lesson, or when the children are just getting engrossed in what you say and absorbing those concepts that you teach them is the most satisfying moment for a teacher. The moment in the classroom when I got it, you know. And those moments actually it gives the thrill of our lives when you know that you have satisfied the curiosity of the child, and there you have got it bang on spot. You know, you have hit the bullseye, and that it's kind of meditation. It's a kind of spirituality for a teacher to go into a class and deliver a great lesson.
That's amazing. So, Adyam, you started off as a teacher, and then transitioning into a principal. How was that? How did that happen? And did you feel any major change in your approach towards being an academician, or was it consistent throughout? From a teacher to principal?
You see, growing from a teacher to a principal, I think the first thing is you got to love your children. You got to love your children. I always think that I am my children's servant. Okay? It's a service. It's a service. You just can't be a great teacher unless you're serving your children. And I think I've been fortunate to be in a company which has recognized me as a teacher, as a servant to my children, and I have had growth. And if you keep your children as a focus in your life, in this vocation, I wouldn't call it profession, in this vocation, I think growth will come by itself.
By itself.
It's your passion.
Absolutely.
It's your passion that drives you.
Very true, very true. So is that what you truly believe in? If you're passionate about something, you invariably succeed in that.
Yes.
And that is...
You got to be good at it. You got to be passionate about it. You can't equate teaching to any sort of compensation.
Absolutely.
The only compensation that you get back is love from the children.
From the children.
And that cannot equate to money. You can't equate to anything else. And I think that's what has driven me.
Wow, that's great. Now, I read that, ma'am, when your pattern or the structure of teaching involves a lot of holistic development for children.
Yes.
So it's not just books and academics that counts, it's a lot more. Could you just tell us about your approach towards teaching children?
Okay. I myself would not have been a successful teacher if I was not involved in various activities within my school life. So I used to be a sports person.
Right.
I was actively involved in sports. I was actively involved in debates and wherever drama and, you know, events like that where I think I had skills for that.
Right.
So in order to be successful in life, I think our children need to collaborate, work with one another. And those are the skills that you got to give your children in school. So in our school, for example, we give plenty of opportunities for children to participate. Whether you're talented or not talented, that comes in later. But the ability to participate, to go up on stage and speak a few words.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're good at dancing, do participate whenever the opportunity comes up. If you're good in singing, music, do participate.
Right.
Or there are various other opportunities for children to showcase their talent. For example, when we put up a show, it's not only the people on stage that matters. There are a number of people who work backstage, behind the scenes, and they are so important for the success of the show.
Very true.
And it is this team effort, that collaboration that brings in the personality of the child.
True, very
So
true.
the holistic development is so important.
Essential.
It's so essential. Now, apart from this, there's also a feeling, there's a sense of being grounded.
Right.
Okay? The grounding effect is also equally important.
Very true. Yes.
So you got to be, you may be great let's say you may be great musician, but unless you're grounded, you're not successful. You're not successful.
Absolutely true.
So we need to teach our children to be grounded, to value everything that we have, to value the talent that we have, to share the talent that we have. It's because I may not have everything.
Yes.
I'm only a small piece of that jigsaw puzzle. But it's the entire team that makes the picture
look pretty.
Yes. So it's the jigsaw puzzle that you create around you, and I think that's also leadership. True. How you create that picture, how you allow your people within your team to build that picture, build that picture. And that is so important, and that's what we need to teach our children, to understand that it is collaboration that is going to bring you success. It is how you work with everybody, the synergy that you create within your team, and create that beautiful picture around you.
Beautifully said, ma'am. Now, while we're discussing the same topic, I think it's a very Indian thing that parents believe that academics should come first. At the end of an academic year, the report card is what is important. How do you deal with parents that approach a child's progress only from the perspective of bookish knowledge, and where parents, try to tell them that, extracurricular activities are for later, or for, they're not as important as academics are? How do you approach?
See, we got to educate our parents that marks are not everything.
Yes.
It is important. Marks are important because ultimately your admission to higher colleges all depends on marks. But however, that's not everything.
Yes.
More and more colleges are now recognizing the fact that it is not the end of the year result that is important, but it is consistency in academics. It's the holistic development that matters. So more and more colleges are giving value to has a child participated in debates, has a child participated in events. So is there a sense of collaboration within the child? Because those skills, those soft skills are more important in the success of life.
True. Right.
You also need to think of the way the technology is taking over a lot of things in the current jobs. So I don't know in 10 years from now what we are teaching in school today is going to be actually valued 10 years, are the children going to use this 10 years from now in their jobs? I have no idea. I have no idea. So what we are teaching today may be quite invalid 10 years from now.
From now, yes.
But what is it, what can we teach our children that cannot be taken over by technology? It's so important.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So for example, the capacity to love, the capacity to collaborate, the capacity to be creative, the capacity to interact with one another.
Yeah.
Those skills can never be taken away by machines and by technology.
Very true.
So those are the skills that you need to deliver, inculcate in children. So this is why holistic development is so important, because math, science, social studies and everything will come. Yeah. It will come. But what won't come later is collaboration, creativity, thinking critically, challenging one another, debating skills will never come later. What you develop in school is what you are. Because colleges are not going to teach you those things.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So, ma'am, when it comes to children, when it comes to parents, you mentioned how you approach this. What about when it comes to children? If you're ever in a situation where you have to deal with indiscipline when it comes to a child or say a class or a group, what is your approach as a principal and as a teacher?
See, first and foremost, I think children need to be aware of the consequences.
Right.
Okay. So every school needs to have a very clear policy, which is shared with all the children and the parents. So if I do this, this will be the consequence.
The result of it,
this will be the consequence. Yeah. So in most schools, I think will have a stepped approach. We have a stepped approach to behavior.
Okay.
So the first instant you do something, it may be just a warning, or we talk to the child, we counsel the child.
Yes.
Okay, this is not the right thing to do. The second instance could be deal with the parent, you invite the parent to school and have a talk with the parent and the child together. Before we take, I mean, I don't think most cases have not gone beyond that.
Okay.
Most cases are rectified by then. Okay. See, children are also ultimately, if you take a consistent approach, then they know that that's it, we need to stop here.
Right.
So there's always needs to be consistency, and you need to be fair in your approach. If you are not being fair in your approach, that's when you have problems. True. So irrespective of who this person is, what the situation is, you need to be fair and consistent.
Very well said, ma'am. Ma'am, when it comes to training teachers in your institute, I also happen to read that there is a very systemic and planned approach towards training teachers. How does that happen? And how important is it in today's education?
Teacher training is absolutely critical, because the skills that you got to deliver is changing day by day.
Day by day, yes.
Okay, so actually we are adding on every day more and more on the teacher's plates.
More than the children itself, right?
So being a teacher is no longer so easy.
Unlike before.
It's not at all easy. So the needs of the learning needs of children are constantly evolving.
Yes.
It's evolving. True. So teacher training is absolutely critical to be a successful teacher. So what we generally do is we do regular lesson observations, we get into teachers' classes, evaluate, and then we decide, okay, these are the skills that we need to develop. We are generally lacking in, these are our strengths, these are our weaknesses, and then we develop the training modules for teachers. But definitely training is one of the key aspects, and if a school has to be successful, it's not all about the principal at all. It's all about the teachers and the students. It's the students who make a successful teacher, and it's the teachers who make a successful school.
So it's a synergy effect.
It's the synergy. It's absolutely the synergy. So a teacher may deliver an outstanding lesson. However, if the children are passive, that outstanding lesson may not be valued at all. But if the child is receptive to what the teacher is saying, asking questions, making mistakes. Making mistakes is an integral part of learning.
Absolutely.
So making those mistakes, challenging each other, debating in the class is what makes the lesson successful. And if the lesson is successful, the teacher is successful. And if teachers are successful, the school is successful. And then the principal is successful.
The last credit doesn't go to you. I'm sure you're being very, very modest, ma'am, right now. But speaking of how receptive children are towards each subject, what happens when a child is unable to follow a particular lesson pattern, or if there's any difficulty?
We do have cases like that. Okay. We do have cases where children... So one of the requirements of a great lesson is also the teacher needs to assess whether the learning objectives are met or not.
Yes.
So the teachers will go back to the lesson and say, okay, there are 5 children in my class who did not understand my lesson. So the teacher's job is to go back and evaluate her own lesson, and then go back to those 5 children in class who probably did not understand, and probably call them at a extra period or during break time and make sure that she explains the lesson once again to those children. But then we do have children with learning disabilities. Right. That's when the counselor and the special educators step in.
Right.
Okay. So if this is happening consistently in class, then the teachers would refer those children to the counselor and special educator. They would step in, and then if there is a need, we will place a learning support assistant for the student.
Fabulous, fabulous. So, ma'am, in these cases, especially coming to special children with learning disabilities, and so is there any need for such children to move out of a conventional education system and move into a special school, or are there enough facilities to manage their tutoring?
There are facilities within the existing school. I think it is better for such children to be within the school system itself, because they will learn social skills, they will learn the skills of collaboration. They may not learn English, math and science the way the regular children learn, but they are learning so many other skills. And what is it that we want them? We need to equip these children so that they can lead their own lives. And I think it's only by mainstreaming them with regular children that will be possible.
True. So, ma'am, referring to the point that you said where we equip children with skills that enable them to lead a good social life, does this include incorporating vocational skills and soft skills right from a tender age, or is there any age limit where these skills are imparted to children? How important is it to have soft skills and social skills taught to them at a
soft skills
age?
And social skills are developed right from kindergarten. There's no particular age by when we can start. Now, there are various ways in which we can do it. In my school, there are ways in which children help, probably in sorting out books. Okay, or we have a great vegetable gardens within the school.
I'm sure you're very keen on asking you that question. I'm extremely interested in that.
So, I mean, my school itself is only on a 2.3 hectare of land, but we have over 2,000 square feet of vegetables. Now, how did we manage that? We have got vertically, horizontally on the terrace, in the tires, on the walls. So we are growing vegetables. And these vegetables are growing right around the school where children are playing, children are having their break time. And you won't believe they're taken care by the children because there's a sense of ownership. There's a sense of ownership. So the children are watering them, children are plucking the vegetables, selling the vegetables at a certain time. They don't touch it when they're not supposed to.
And they know that.
And they know that. They know that because there's a sense of ownership.
Right.
It belongs to them. It belongs to their school. Okay, so there are this luscious looking strawberries hanging in pots around, and children don't touch them. I can understand the cucumber and the bitter gourd they may not touch, but strawberries, something so attractive for children to, the red color and looking so ripe and, delicious, wanting to delicious.
In spite of that, they don't.
In spite of that, they don't touch. So I think these are skills because they've taken ownership. They've taken ownership.
True.
So these are skills that has been inculcated right from the primary classes.
Oh, that's brilliant. So there's a vegetable garden. I really wanted to delve more into that. What inspired you to bring about this initiative in the school, ma'am? Because it's unheard of, I'm sure, in at least in this region.
Yeah. See, whenever I took a feedback from children, they always gave me, they had no issues with teaching, learning, anything. But they always said, ma'am, there's lack of space in the school for a playground. And so even though we have a playground, there's not we don't have a astroturfed ground. So this always used to come back from children.
As a feedback.
As a feedback from children. So I wanted to make life slightly different for them. And I went into Miracle Gardens of Dubai, and I found that there were vertical flowers growing. So I said, why not start vertical flower gardens in the school, just to change the ambience of the school. Just to change the ambience of the school, because children were saying we have lack of space. So I wanted to start that. So we built some shelves, put some pots on those shelves, and started putting some jasmine flowers so that it will give out the fragrance as well. Then when those grew well, we said, okay, let's try some lady's finger. And so that started, and that year we had a bumper crop of lady's finger. So slowly, it took nearly 3.5 years to convert the entire walls all around the school into vegetable gardens. Now we have nearly 140 varieties of fruits and vegetables growing within the school. You'll be surprised. I don't even know the names of all of them.
That is amazing. And these are all taken care of by the children themselves?
By the children, by the support staff, by my drivers, by my teachers, everybody. So they've taken ownership.
It's a team effort.
It's a team effort. Again, collaboration. And it's also integrated with the curriculum.
That's interesting.
So right from kindergarten up to grade 12, there are some scientific experiments or some skills that the children are learning. So every primary class, they've got a learning walk in the gardens. So they count. The KGs would count the number of strawberries. So they're learning counting. Okay.
So it's
age-appropriate activities. The primary school may measure the growth of the plant week by week.
Very interesting.
And the senior school would test the content of the contents in it. Compare it with the market-bought vegetables. This is organic. And that is market.
With pesticides and unwanted elements thrown in.
So there's a middle school who's doing an experiment of how music impacts the growth of plants. So there are so many different kinds of experiments. The oxygen it gives out. So there are certain plants that give out more oxygen than the others. So there are different kinds of experiments.
And this is
that are being done. And that is right from kindergarten up to grade 12.
And this is regardless of what stream the student chooses in high school, right?
So entrepreneurship, my commerce children would sell the vegetables, create a balance sheet, and then feed back into the school.
I literally have goosebumps as you're saying this, because I don't think there's anything that can be more ideal as a holistic learning environment for children. And how have you been able to observe any impact in the learning system at GEMS vis-a-vis other institutes, ma'am, with regard to everything that you've done as part of the curriculum?
See, all I can say is that the holistic development of the children have increased, and parents have got a great satisfaction of sending the children to school, because they cannot imagine a child sitting under a pumpkin patch and reading. With huge pumpkins up over there, over their heads, and you're reading underneath it. So I think it's just the ambience that we have created, and the atmosphere. It has become a learning atmosphere. What better way to learn, to feel grounded, to value the food that you eat, to respect the food that you eat, that comes to your plate. Because, somebody was telling me the other day, if you ask a child, where does tomato grow? They say it comes from the supermarket. But to actually see tomatoes growing, to see the beans growing, it's amazing. For children, that's so important to see that growth, to see the butterflies come, to learn pollination in real life. Not just from the textbooks.
Right.
And that is learning.
Absolutely.
That is learning.
So it's overall the environment has been changed to incorporate learning. Now, ma'am, how would you describe your leadership skills? If I'm to ask you, if you can describe it in a single word, how would you describe it?
I think leadership is love. If you love everybody, leadership is respect everybody. And I also believe leadership should be sustainable.
Sustainable.
Okay? Something that you do today, and tomorrow if I leave, what I have started off should still remain. Should continue. So always think about, before you start anything and before you start directing things within the school, is it sustainable? Only then that, if it is sustainable, continue to do that. Wow. So for me, it's love, respect, and sustainability.
So that's 3 words: love, respect, and sustainability. And I think, ma'am, it can be incorporated in every realm of life, not necessarily just leadership, or even at homes, in your workplace, everywhere. As a final question before we let you go, I know you're a very, very busy lady. What advice would you have to give children and parents at the same time, as far as being in education is concerned?
The advice that I would like to give parents is, allow your child to participate in as many events, not necessarily academic. If your child is good at sports, allow them to participate. Create that extra time, create that extra effort. It may mean that you may have to drop your child on a Friday morning. It may mean that you need to drop your child at 6 o'clock to school.
Right.
Take that extra effort, because it is these playing in the playground, or participating in a musical, participating in a dance program, participating in a debate, going out for a picnic.
Right.
All these are educational activity. Everything that happens in a school is academic in nature. Nothing is non-academic. It may look non-academic, but it is actually all linked to education, because children will learn collaboration, children will develop their personality, children will learn to communicate, learn to have differences, learn to make mistakes, and it is from these that children learn a lot. So schooling is not all about learning English, math, science, Arabic, and so on. It's the holistic approach that we take. And it is participating in all these events that develops a personality.
All-round
development of the
What
child.
about for children, ma'am? What would you like to say?
I would give the same advice to children, that don't ever put away participating in an event because of exams, because of, it's not marks that makes you, it's the entire school experience is what makes a person who or she is.
And do you believe that the school days are the best days a person
Definitely.
has?
I mean, I think even as adults, when we look back, our school days are the ones that we remember more than our college days.
Definitely. I concur with that statement.
So it's the teachers whom you remember.
Absolutely, yes.
The college professors have forgotten.
Not so much. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. It has been an honor sitting next to you and talking to you. And thank you so much for everything that you've said. I'm sure there's a lot that parents and students alike can incorporate and imbibe in their lives. So, nammalodappam itrayum neram samayam chelavaichadu was Mrs. Lalitha Suresh, the principal at GEMS, our own Indian school. Thank you for sharing everything again, ma'am.